Hello everyone, welcome to the Tier 3 stream. So we are now going into the qualifying session for round 8 for the Tier 3 season for Fusion Racing. And it is at Qatar. And we have immediately a whole train of cars going out for qualifying. We have Toxic Waste out, Names Jeff out, Timmy Gun, Big Root Vigilante, Alfie JVR, Wilder Blue, White Tiger, Doctor Who, and Peter 84, all out onto the circuit. And we have Deathmac as well going onto the track. It is Timmy Gun leading the way, and he will be sitting the first time on the board for us. So Timmy Gun's been quite quick in qualifying in the last couple of rounds, always finding himself challenging up towards the front. But it was Names Jeff who took pole position last time out, and I believe that is Names Jeff right behind Timmy Gun. So he'll be getting a nice tow here on this first straight, but he will be suffering from dirty air for the rest of the track. Going into turn 1, riding on board with Names Jeff. Going a bit wide there in the dirty air. You can see Timmy Gun taking quite a nice line there ahead of us, missing the second turn ever so slightly, but carrying good speed through that corner, which I think is a bit more important there than whether or not you hit the apex. Oh, that's a bit tight for Names Jeff as he does invalidate his lap. Track limits, extremely important around here. Can hurt you a little bit in qualifying, but even more so in the race as you start to rack up 3 second, then 6 second, then even 9 and 12 second penalties. So your accuracy and your consistency is really tested at this track. And qualifying wise, this track, it is good to be able to set down a good banker lap, but this is one of those tracks where I feel like you can just go quicker and quicker and quicker with every run that you do, just because of the amount of confidence that you start to gain. You put in one lap, and then your second lap you're pushing the limits a little bit more, you're flirting your track limits, and you're just finding more and more time. As Timmy Gun goes across the line with his own banker lap, which is a 28.8, but it's immediately beaten by Big Red Vigilante, and we do have Doctor Who coming across the line as well, finishing out in third place with a 1 minute 23.5 compared to Big Red Vigilante's 1 minute 22.6. We have the two Aston Martins coming across the line, White Tiger and Wilder Blue, the two W teammates, coming across the line, and they find themselves in positions 4 and 7th now as Alfie JVR continuing to struggle slightly in qualifying, at least in the beginning part of qualifying, as he finds himself only going up to 6th place. But we have seen Alfie JVR improve massively previously in the season. But I believe we will see him work his way back up towards the top 4, even top 3 by the end of this qualifying session. And I believe everyone has finished their laps now. Mac was the final driver to come across the line, and he finds himself also in 7th place. So we have 3 drivers in the 1 minute 22s, quite close at the top 3 of the field is Peter 84. Bit of a surprise there, standing currently in 2nd place, only 2 tenths, under 2 tenths behind the provisional pole sitter. We do have the Mercedes out there on his own flying lap, going through the penultimate turn. Very difficult corner, very easy to invalidate in the final turn, which so important that you put yourself on the right line with the correct amount of speed so you can just slam the throttle down without burning up the rear tyres. And we see Darksetter Racing, the Mercedes driver, going up to 4th place. Alfie JVR starts his own flying lap now. Let's see if he can make a big improvement. So he's fueled for 2 flying laps. He's pushed the first lap. He's gone for a cool recharge lap. And now he's pushing once again. As we go towards the end of the first sector, we're coming up to these extremely tricky corners here. 2 right-handers, which you want to flash through as quickly as possible and avoid invalidating, which Alfie JVR was unfortunately not able to avoid. And Big Red Vigilante proves the provisional pole time even further with 1 minute 22.278. Took Waste is starting his own flying lap, and it names Jeff has gone again, and he set it purple first sector, and he's now going into the middle part of this track. Going now towards turn 10. Now what I like to call the crown section. The ultra fast, flat out, triple right-hander of turns 12, 13 and 14. And it looks neat and tidy so far for the Ferrari driver as he goes through the final turn, hitting the apex nicely on the inside, getting on the power, a bit of traction control kicking in there, reducing his exit slightly, but he does go to second place with a 1 minute 22.422. And we have Timmy Gunn also starting his own flying lap with a Mercedes. I believe that could be Forza. Finishing out his lap, he goes up to 8th place with a 1 minute 23.5. Timmy Gunn going again, using all the track available to him, hitting the apex of turn 2 very nicely as we go up now towards turns 4 and 5. Load the car in, use the outside curb, turn in. Oh, that's wide, and that is track limits. The FRL strikes once again and deletes his lap before he's been able to finish it. Toxic Waste has gone up to 6th place. He's trying to see who is on a lap. White Tiger starting his own flying lap. So as it currently stands, the top 6 are within a second of the provisional pole time at this stage. And then from 10th up to 7th, they are separated by only 4/10 of a second. As we watch White Tiger 50-50, going through the final turn, getting on the power, burning his battery across the line, taking out the DRS board with him. But it is not an improvement. He came within 12 thousandths of his own time, but was not able to improve it. And now we are looking to the Red Bull driver, Alfie JVR, starting his 3rd attempt at a flying lap around here. Going into turn 1, getting on the power nicely. Shaping up turn 2 nicely as well, carrying good speed through there. Now we want to set ourselves up for turns 5 and 6. Or 4 and 5. This is looking better. Good amount of speed carried through to go into the hairpin of turn 6. Ooh, very high gear to be in there, 4th gear, but the time is good. We're going to this long constant radius of turn 7. Now go through the fast kink of turn 8. Turns 9 and 10. Now we go up to the crown section. These turns requiring good commitment. Want to remain full throttle and even burn a bit of battery through those turns for a good time on the board. Through the final turn we go. Looked a little bit wide there, but that final turn is more about the speed that you carry through in your exit, more so than whether you hit the apex or not. RPJVR goes up to 4th, but he is beaten by Darksider Racing, who, utilizing that distant toe, has found himself up to the top of the field with a 1 minute 22.2, only 28 thousandths ahead of the McLaren driver, Big Red Vigilante. So a good lap for the Mercedes driver. Finds himself in a very good position with 6 minutes to go in this session. And we have Timmy Gunn once again hoping to challenge the top of the leaderboard with another qualifying lap time. Coming up to the set of corners where everyone has been struggling with track limits so far. Turn it in nicely, using a little bit of speed there, but he is 3 tenths up on his own time as we see Big Red Vigilante has retaken provisional pole with a 1 minute 22 flat. Very, very good lap time from the McLaren driver there. So we're going up to turn 10. Oh, careful, careful with the braking there. He was opening up the corner as much as he could, but it does mean there's slightly less grip on your right side tyres because of the runoff area there. And he ended up locking his rear tyres ever so slightly there. Had to drift the car through that corner, and the lap has fallen apart for him right at the very end. Track limits strike once again in that triple right-hander. And we have Falso now, also going for a lap here. Staying flat out. Avoiding the track limits. Hit the inside code nicely there. Bounce 56 and back up to 7th. Now for the final turn. Looking in for a good apex and get on the power as early as possible. Burn the battery. A lot of battery left over here. Going to have a good drive to the line. Finds himself with a purple 3rd sector. Finds himself currently sitting in 4th place. 4 tenths down on provisional pole. And we already have an Aston Martin leaving the pits. Wilder Blue. Let's see what he can do. You also currently have the McLaren of DefMac out on a lap. But he is harvesting his battery, so I imagine he is preparing himself to have another go after this lap. And DefMac has indeed continued on. His fuel light is flashing though. I do wonder if he has enough fuel to finish out this lap. Going the turns 4 and 5. Boo to the hairpin. Hit the brakes. Bring it around for nice apex, get on the power as early as possible. Oh, a bit of a mistake there with the gears. Down switching to 1st, then back up to 2nd. would have cost him a little bit of time on the exit. We are going to switch over very soon to, I believe, name's Jeff when he gets to the line. See what sort of that time he can put together, as we see Defmac has bailed out of that lap once again. Darkseid Racing though, he will soon start his own flying lap, and we have Toxic Waste further up the road, but he's on an out lap. So Darkseid Racing, 2/10 down on pole at this stage, but he has shown himself to have a lot of pace at this stage of qualifying. And remember, he won the previous round at Las Vegas, a tremendous race pace even with a heavily damaged front wing. I definitely do not underestimate the power and the lap time of the Silver Arrow piloted by Darkseid Racing. He goes through the hairpin, getting on the power. Rear end looking a little bit nervous there. But so far he's looking smooth enough, but he has gone over track limits, and once again will have to pay the fine of an invalidated lap for that. Oh, and that is name's Jeff going very, very wide off the track. It's not invalidated, but that is not fast. Very far from the optimal line as he makes it to get out of the way of some of the drivers behind him. Timmy Gunn being on a lap himself as well. Everyone is on a lap here, all preparing to start a flying lap. So I won't be able to look at everyone, but Timmy Gunn here is on a lap, and he does have Mercedes ahead of him. Bit of a wheel flick going on there. And I believe that's Forza in front of him. So not the nicest gesture from the Mercedes man to be giving dirty air all throughout this final sector. And that has ruined the lap for Timmy Gunn. A big shame for the Alpine driver. Oh, and that is... That's not very nice. And Forza rejoined into name's Jeff as well, causing him to go off the track. Calm down, lads. Calm down. We know things are not going well right now. We know things aren't going smoothly, but keep your head on your shoulders. Go down and control the controllables. And that looks to be qualifying pretty much over already, but we do have Peter 84 challenging for pole position here. Going quick in the middle sector. Now going to the final turn, staying in 5th gear. Burning his battery, making his way towards the start finish line, and he goes up to 2nd place. 88 thousandths down on Big Red Vigilante. I believe Alpha JVR, he was on a lap, but it was invalidated as well. And that is qualifying over. Definitely a bit of a sour taste left in the mouth after what we just witnessed happening at the end there. Definitely a bit of nerves being on edge there, but we will hopefully be able to move on from that for the main race and continue on with clean slates for everyone. So your pole sitter is Big Red Vigilante, followed by Peter 84 in the Haas. Name's Jeff, as you can see on the screen, is in 4th place. And in 3rd place is Dark Shadow Racing in the Mercedes. He had another go at pole position, but track limits said otherwise. Then we have Forza, the other Mercedes driver, in 5th place. Alfie JVL, the championship leader and still championship favourite, in 6th position, 4/10 down on pole. Megun in 7th, Toxic Waste in 8th. Wilder Blue And White Tiger and the Aston Martins, they're in 9th and 10th. And Doctor Who finds himself in 11th, just outside the top 10. So we'll have a 5-minute break now, and then we will start the race. Catch you in a bit. Okay, and we are about to start the race. As you can see, most of the field are starting on hard tyres except for JVR and Timigun, both of whom are starting on the mediums. So Qatar is a track that works the tyres very well, so tyre temp is not really a major issue here. But it is also a track where fuel load makes a huge difference. So those hard tyres will be producing very, very good lap times towards the end of their stint. By the way, not really making a huge difference in terms of lap time. The mediums, however, will definitely give JVR to Timigun significantly more grip at this stage of the race. So we have to see if they can make full use of that grip advantage, make up positions when it matters most, and put themselves in a good position before the pit stops. Now the competitors will be lining themselves up on the grid, finding their grid box and preparing themselves for the start of the Qatar Grand Prix. We are about to get underway with racing here at Qatar. Green flag in the back, 5 red lights, and they are out, and we are underway for the Qatar Grand Prix. Big Red Vigilante on pole position gets a good enough start. We're almost 3 wide into turn 1 as the McLaren is being challenged by Peter84 in the house, who makes a challenge for the lead of the race down the inside. Now around the outside of turn 2, we have a bit of contact there between the McLaren and Big Red Vigilante and names Jeff, who's also another quick starter, finding himself up to 3rd place. JVR on those mediums doing well to find himself up to 4th place, but he is fighting with the Mercedes of Darksetter Racing, who goes off the track as well there. Not entirely sure what's going on there, not so sure if there were some illegal overtakes on screen there, and if JVR was trying to give those positions back. But as it stands right now, we have the Haas driver of Peter84 leading from Big Red Vigilante, leading from names Chef in 3rd place. Is Mercedes driver of Darksetter Racing 4th place, JVR there in 5th. And the field has already spread out quite a bit further down towards the middle of the pack. We did see a front wing end plate flying off there in the background, so I'm not entirely sure who got damaged there. We'll try and catch up on that if we can, as we see Mercedes going wide off the track in the background. Forza struggling with the grip on that car and finds himself being challenged somewhat by toxic waste as YLW goes wide off the track. Big Red Vigilante has done well to stay within a second of Peter84, has tried to bolt at this stage of the race, and I believe Doctor Who is the one who had the damages. He is currently in the pits. So Peter84 on the Haas, making sure to properly challenge for the lead into turn 1, took the inside line, commanded the corner, and took the lead from the pole sitter. And we have Toxic Waste now being challenged somewhat by Timigun. Timigun on those mediums, so he does have quite a bit more grip and pace at this stage of the race on lap 2. But certainly right now the field is quite spread out already. JVR and Darksetter Racing currently the closest fight that we have on track. Going to bring up the tyre information now. Oh, as JVR goes very, very wide. Dirty Air, extremely powerful in that final sector. And again, it's going to be very important that these drivers are looking after the left-hand side of their tyres. especially through the crown section. The triple right-hander. As I said, I like to call that the crown section for me. It reminds me of a crown, and it's a name that those corners are worthy of. So you don't necessarily want to be pushing flat out at this stage. You want to be lifting at the apexes of some of these high-speed turns, reducing the load on your tires and trying to make sure that you can bring them as deep into this race as possible. You can look after your tires. As the fuel load burns off, you will be rewarded with better and better lap times. But currently, the Ferrari man of names Jeff is in third place, struggling to hang within the second of Big Red Vigilante, who himself is also now more than a second behind Peter 84. And Darksetter Racing and then Timmy Gunn set the fastest laps currently. And Timmy Gunn is struggling to make progress here with those medium tyres. It's not the best start to the race for him. With every lap that goes by, those hards will be getting closer and closer to the mediums in terms of performance. And eventually the pendulum is going to swing in the hard tyre runner's favour. Oh, that is deep for Toxic Waste going into the back of Fossa there. A bit of a checkup happening there. Wants to make sure that he does not lose the position out to Timmy Gunn, who is looking, showing himself in the mirrors of the Racing Bulls driver, threatening to take the position at every corner that we go through, but unable to do anything as of yet. So we now have a couple of trains starting to form. We have a train forming here behind Fossa, and we have a train forming up behind Big Red Vigilante and Darksetter Racing. Alfie JVR with a 3-second penalty. As I said, track limits very important here. We already saw how many times the drivers were invalidating their laps in qualifying, and Alfie JVR and Names Jeff have both now got themselves 3-second penalties. Names Jeff, though, challenging for second place, taking the inside line of Big Red Vigilante and takes second place away from the McLaren driver. Big Red not fighting that too hard. Once he saw that the Ferrari man was well and truly down his inside, he sort of let him through, making sure that he does not lose too much time, because again, all these drivers will be looking at their position relative to the current race leader. And it looks like it is a good move that Big Red Vigilante let Names Jeff through, because Jeff has been able to pull him along towards Peter 84. But Names Jeff is very low in battery, it seems, and he's going to be repassed, it seems, into turn 1. Down the inside goes the McLaren driver, Big Red Vigilante, but Jeff tries to hang around the outside, but runs out of road whilst trying to do so, and has to concede his position to Big Red Vigilante. And now this is the problem. These two have started to battle with each other, and just look at that, the gap has already opened up to Peter 84 out at the front. The gap was 1.5 to 1.3 seconds. It is now 2.3 seconds. So Peter 84 will be cheering these drivers on, saying, yes, please, fight with each other. Go alongside into turn 1. Lose more time. So Jeff pushed hard in the middle part of the lap, but ran out of battery on the start finish straight, and because they meant that Big Red Vigilante did not have much choice other than to pass, or at least attempt to pass the Ferrari driver. They ended up having to battle it out side by side with the Ferrari driver. Cost both of them quite a lot of time. Big Red Vigilante has been able to close the gap down somewhat to Peter 84, but only by a tenth or two. And as you can see, Jeff, with only 30% battery left, it's Big Red Vigilante and a lot more starting in a straight. Dark Shadow Racing hoping to challenge for third place as well and move himself up one position in the train. Alfie JVR still hanging on with this train on those medium tyres. Timmy Gunn has been able to find his way past Toxic Waste, it seems. He now finds himself challenging the Mercedes driver of Forza. These two had it coming together in qualifying. Hopefully they won't have any more comings together. Peter 84's got a 3-second penalty, which at this stage will drop him out of the lead of this race, as Big Red Vigilante does not have a 3-second penalty himself and is within 3 seconds of Peter. Going through this flat-out triple right-hander, as name's Jeff, losing quite a lot of time through there, and now being challenged by the Mercedes driver of Dark Shadow Racing. Name's Jeff with a bit more battery this time, but he has dropped outside of DRS range of the McLaren driver of Big Red Vigilante, and that means that Dark Shadow Racing will be able to easily fly past down the straight. And you know, it might be a double loss of position as Alfie JVR challenged for the position down the inside into turn 1, but backed out of it and did not make the place. Meanwhile, Timmy Gunn has been able to overtake Forza, finally getting ahead of the Mercedes driver, and he will now hope to charge after this train and get back within DRS range. Try to undo some of the damage dealt in the early laps of this race. And currently, Big Red Vigilante finds himself in prime position to run away from the rest of the field here as well, as he's still with more than a second ahead of Dark Shadow Racing, but with more than double the battery. So I expect that through this section, Big Red Vigilante will be able to open a nice gap, and MGF will want to try and stay within a second of Dark Shadow Racing so that he can try and re-overtake him into turn 1, but he's lost a little bit too much time there, and he's lost the DRS once again. So race pace still proving to be a bit of a tricky obstacle for the Ferrari driver. We just have loads of drivers racking up the penalties. So we have 6 drivers with 3-second penalties. Currently inside the top 6, it's only Big Red Vigilante and Dark Shadow Racing without a 3-second penalty. And interestingly enough, Timmy Gunn has not really been able to close in on the train in front. So there's medium tyres starting to go away a bit on the Alpine, and we see Forza looking more comfortable at this stage than the Alpine. And now, name's Jeff finds himself back within a second of Dark Shadow Racing. Looking much better for the Ferrari driver here. He will have DRS this time around, and will help him out a lot in terms of lap time. So we've now gone on to lap 10. The race is currently being led by Peter 84 in the Haas, However, he does have a 3-second penalty. Names Jeff looking to make a challenge down the inside to turn 1, but not close enough to make it stick. Timmy Gunn also able to stay ahead of Forza and Toxic Waste. Currently have 2 trains pretty much at the front. And we do have Defmac here now behind Chicken Wing, but without DOS and also without battery. So if we take a look at the positions gained and lost, our biggest gainer is Chicken Wing with 3 positions gained. And our biggest loser is White Tiger, having lost 4 places since the start of the race. So as we come towards the beginning of lap 11, we can now start to talk strategy and talk about when these medium tyre starters will work their way into the pit lane. I expect that they will be looking at making some pit stops around lap 13 or lap 12. We could see them in next lap or the lap after that. Alfie JVR doing very well to stay within DRS range here of Names Chef and Darkseid Racing, keeping himself in a good position with which he can undercut these two and try and work his way up towards Big Red Vigilante, just a bit up the road. And the McLaren driver has started to close in on the race leader. So I mentioned at the beginning of the race that you really want to make sure you look after your tyres, especially the left hand side. Especially again through the high-speed turns. If you can look after them, you'll be able to push more when the fuel gets burnt off and be rewarded with better and better lap times. It looks like as though Big Red Vigilante has done just that, as he has continued to close that gap down to the leaders. Well, to the leader. Alpha JVR looking quite close here to the back of Names Chef, but not attempting a pass just yet. Timmy Gunn doing well to stay ahead of Forza, although the gap has continued to grow between him and Alfie JVR. But I think at this stage Timmy Gunn's race is with those behind him. And he'll be looking at securing 6th position. So it is lap 12 out of 29. Peter 84 leads by 2 seconds from Big Red Vigilante in 2nd place. In 3rd place we have Dark Shadow Racing with a train of 2 drivers behind him. Names Jeff in the Ferrari and Alfie JVR in 4th and 5th places respectively. Then 4.6 seconds further back is Timmy Gunn in the Alpine leading another train of 2 from Forza. Oh, but Timmy Gunn's gone off. He's got a puncture. That is the Alpine driver with a front left puncture. And he finds himself going very, very slowly through the final turn. The car just refuses to turn. And thankfully, he's been able to limp that car back into the pits. But definitely not a good final sector for the Alpine driver. So he puts his tyres to lap 12, and it proved to be 1 lap too many. So now Alfie JVR is also in the pits, and he'll be looking at undercutting Names Chef and Dark Shadow Racing. Do have Timmy Gun now here, coming out right behind Chicken Wing. Which is further bad news for the Alpine driver to now be stuck in traffic, finding the exit of the pits, right when you want to be pushing and leaning on these tyres as much as possible and setting purple laps if possible. He finds himself now stuck in dirty air, unable to get past the second Red Bull driver. And we are now on to lap 14. At the front of the field we do have Toxic Waste right up behind Forza. Toxic Waste will be hoping to make a move before we get to turn 1. Does he actually make it stick? No, he backs out of it for now. Oh, but he brakes so much later, and in the end, too late, as he has now lost the entire right-hand side of his front wing. So now that is a definite box after this lap for Toxic Waste. The last thing you want at Qatar is no front wing. Even more so than at any other track. In Las Vegas you could get away with front wing damage, but not here. At Qatar you want oversteer, you want to have the car to be as sharp as possible on the front end. We have Doctor Who also entering the pits, going from mediums to hards. And he'll be taking those tyres to the end of the race. Peter84 has been able to stabilise that gap somewhat to Big Red Vigilante behind, but Big Red Vigilante still with quite a lot of battery. So I believe he's just waiting for the pit stop cycles to start happening for these hard eye runners. And there we see Toxic Waste replacing that front wing, going on to mediums now. This is extremely difficult for him. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to bring these medium tyres to the end of the race, so we might see him having to make another pit stop or risk getting a puncture. So for those on the hard tyre, I believe they'll be looking at pitting around lap 17. But we'll have to see which driver can make it that far, and some of them might even try and extend their tyres to lap 18 before pitting. We have Forza now in the pits as well, going off of those hards. You can see how gnarly that front left looks. If you see that the rubber has been moved around a lot and overlapping itself and not looking very clean. And Forza will rejoin just ahead of Timmy Gun. But Timmy Gun able to get a bit of an undercut going. He had that puncture which lost him quite a lot of time. And he finds himself staring at the diffuser of that Mercedes once again. Definitely be thinking to himself that he's been seeing that diffuser a few too many times this evening. Oh, and he's going to hope to make a dive bomb here into the hairpin. Hits the apex very nicely. Makes the move very cleanly. Gets on with his the rest of his lap. Still with quite a bit of battery to burn. So Timmy Gunn's tyres will be up to temperature. Forces have been still warming up slightly. And Toxic Waste was, not Toxic Waste, excuse me. Timmy Gunn was able to make full use of that opportunity. As we see James Jeff in the pits now, going from hards to mediums. And he puts it at the end of lap 16. Indeed, so did also Forsyth, also put it at the end of lap 15, I believe. So a bit of a stretch for these drivers to try and take their tyres to the end. I believe you should be able to take them to the end just fine if you pit at the end of lap 15. Or lap 16, excuse me. Lap 15 is a little bit of a stretch, but it depends on how much you look after the medium tyres. But I do know if you take them to lap 18, you don't have to look after the medium tyres as well, at all. You can just push 100% flat out on them and not have to worry about tyre wear. And we have Chicken Wing in the pits as well. Oh, we have an Aston Martin going slow there. I believe he was just getting out of the way of Name's Jeff. Oh, we have the race leader, Peter 84, with Chicken Wing coming out the pits directly in front of him. So this is not ideal for the race leader. It just opened up a 4.5 second to Dark Shadow Racing. So Peter 84 going extremely well here. I wondered if he had been pushing his tyres harder at the beginning of the stint, but it looks like he was saving them as well, because he has just been able to increase that gap even more over Dark Shadow Racing, as Big Red Vigilante has gone into the pits and has come out now, and Alfie JVR has been able to undercut Big Red Vigilante. So that 4.5 second gap was to Dark Shadow Racing, not to Big Red Vigilante, so I didn't check to see what the gap was before Big Red pitted. Maybe Big Red was still closing in on Peter 84, but anyway, he's decided, you know what, let me go into the pits early, try and get a bit of an undercut, and at least bring myself back into the fight with Peter 84. Of course, all Big Red has to do is stay within 3 seconds of Peter 84 at the end of the race, and he will inherit the race lead due to Peter's penalty. And he's a racing driver, and all us racing drivers will always prefer to take the race win on track rather than wait for a penalty to hand it to us. And Name's Jeff, you know what, he is challenging Big Red Vigilante here. He will get DRS. Sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but with no battery, he is in fact finding the gap increase down the straight. The good battery management there from Big Red Vigilante. Not panicking. Keeping that reserve of battery in play. And he is able to keep third place ahead of Name's Jeff. Now Alfie JVR on the 6 lap old hard tyres has found himself right up behind Doctor Who here. He's on 1 lap old mediums, but Doctor Who gets out of the way very nicely there for the championship leader. And Alfie JVR not too far away from the race leader himself, but with much older tyres, you can expect that gap to start to open up very, very soon. Now Big Red Vigilante will want to try and overtake Alfie JVR as quickly as possible, so they can try and get within that 3 seconds of Peter 84. So Big Red Vigilante was not able to undercut Peter 84. That tells me that Peter 84 was in fact able to increase that gap before the pits, which means that Peter 84 had very good tyre wear and race pace there as well. Big Red Vigilante showing himself in the mirrors of the Red Bull driver, who then goes wide, missing the apex, but still able to carry it. Very good speed through turn 1 and keeps second place for now. And look at how much time Big Red Vigilante is losing now to Peter 84. The gap was just over 2 seconds. It is now 3.3 seconds and growing with every single corner that we flash through. Oh, and that is Big Red Vigilante rear-ended by Names Jeff, who's followed by his teammate. That looked a bit strange. Not entirely sure why Doctor Who would end up turning in behind his teammate as well there in the runoff area, but that has ruined any chance of Big Red Vigilante taking the win tonight. Bit of contact there at the hairpin, saw Big Red Vigilante spun around, facing sideways. And he now finds himself behind Forza and Timmy Gun. As we see the Aston Martin there of White Tiger staying out of the way there. Oh, that is Wilder Blue. No, that is White Tiger. White Tiger has been lapped already, I believe. Apparently he hasn't... Oh, he has been lapped, yeah. Timing looking a little bit strange, but... See, Doctor Who got that front wing damage entering the pits and replacing his front wing as well. So definitely some strange occurrences tonight. Not quite as mad as the Las Vegas Grand Prix that we had last week, but still some strange goings on. So let's just take a look at the penalties. P84, 3-second penalty, but Alfie with a 6-second penalty. The Dog Shadow Racing currently on to take that second place, regardless of whether he makes up the position on track or not. James Jeff also with a 6-second penalty. Timmy Gunn as well with a 6-second penalty. So Big Red Vigilante can overtake Forza and Timmy Gunn here quickly. He could still be on for a 4th place finish if he can get within 6 seconds of Names Jeff. Launches it up the inside. Manages to make the move stick very easily there on the Mercedes driver. Oh, his Names Jeff has now got a 9-second penalty. So that has already elevated Big Red Vigilante up into 4th place. All he needs to do is make sure that doesn't get involved in any collisions with anyone else and is able to bring his car to the end of this race in pristine condition. Also have Wilder Blue here now challenging Toxic Waste, who was up there at one stage during the race, but has dropped back now. He did get that front wing damage that has hurt him quite significantly. Again, some questions hanging over his head as to whether he will be able to take those medium tyres all the way to lap 29. So we'll have to keep an eye on him and check to see if he gets any punctures. Here we go, Big Red Vigilante looking to challenge Timmy Gunn into turn 1. The OS open, battery being burnt, but not close enough to make a move stick. Timmy Gunn still with 44% battery left, so Timmy Gunn are clearly just with a lot of straight line speed there. The Big Red Vigilante was just not able to get anywhere close enough to make a move. Oh, but he is having a look here into turn 4, surely not. And he backs out of it, but that very well could have been a warning for track limits there. for the McLaren driver, as we do have the SMR and Toxic Waste fighting out side by side. A little bit of contact there as we go through turns 4 and 5. Both drivers are able to keep their cars on the track. But that is forcing Toxic Waste to push hard on those left-hand side tyres. Puts him at further risk of a puncture. Darkseid Racing very, very close to Alfie JVR on the Red Bull, who, despite not really having the pace tonight, has found himself still in a good position. And currently will finish 3rd place as Nameshift gets another 3-second penalty. I'm just going to stay on board here with Darkseid Racing for now, making the move into turn 1, all but backing out of it somewhat, braking much earlier than the Red Bull driver. And Alfie JVR is able to sweep it around the outside, but finds himself now very tight for turn 2. Is able to keep himself ahead. Is he? Yes, he is. Darkseid Racing challenging last second there. Just want to see it. Did Fawcett get a front wing damage or not? Or were his tyres just in really bad shape? Not entirely sure. It doesn't look like the pit stop was taking all that long, so I don't think it was front wing damage. Probably find that his tyre wear was a bit too high and he decided, you know what, let's pit now rather than wait for a puncture to inevitably happen. And now we are on board once again with Darkseid Racing, looking to re-challenge Alfie JVR into turn 1. It looks like this move is going to be significantly easier than the previous time around, as Darkseid Racing is able to secure the position before the braking zone. Timmy Gunn holding on very well ahead of Big Red Vigilante. Big Red on those mediums, Timmy Gunn on the hard tyre. So potentially, the McLaren driver finding his tyres at this stage now not really in the best condition. He is certainly struggling to challenge Timmy Gunn, as Wilder Blue is still fighting with Toxic Waste here. Doesn't look like a move has been able to be made and stuck yet. But once again, the field quite spread out. We've got a lot of different penalties, so the order on the left hand side of the screen will change quite drastically, potentially, as we go across the line. Wilder Blue doesn't even have to actually overtake Toxic Waste for this position. Wilder Blue only one of only 2 drivers without any sort of time penalty. Doing very well to keep it within the white lines. Big Red Vigilante now does have a 3-second penalty. He'll still jump Timmy Gunn and Nameshift, so it's not too much of a concern for him. Now Forza has also got another 3-second penalty. Timmy Gunn once again using all the track on the entry there into turn 10. Okay, so Peter 84 was just overtaking Chicken Wing there. Lapping him. Oh, Big Red Vigilante right up behind the gearbox of Timmy Gun here. Does Big Red Vigilante have enough straight line speed to get past the Alpine driver? Looks like he does on this occasion. Is he able to outbrake the Alpine driver? Yes, he is. Taking the middle line, carrying a lot of speed through, and is able to secure the racing line for turn 2 as James Jeff is in the pits. Very interesting development here. James Jeff potentially about to get a puncture and has decided to enter the pits to go on medium tyres, and he does have a 15-second penalty, so either way he was going to lose a ton of positions there. But he's going to lose even more now. He's going to finish in 9th. No real chance of him finishing higher than that. So a lot of these drivers trying to go for the one stop here, but struggling to make it work. Puncture risk is so high at the circuit. If you don't look after your tyres correctly, the tyre wear just skyrockets. Certainly, the race has been controlled extremely well by Peter 84 at the front of the field. Finds himself now with an 11.5 second gap. He has got himself a 3-second penalty, but in light of the penalties that everyone else has got, is very light. But he's also done well to, for the most part, keep the car within track limits. He has been racking up 6 or 9 or even 12-second penalties. Well, just as I said that Peter 84 gets another 3-second penalty, he now has got 6 seconds added to his name, but not going to bother him too much. He's got a big enough gap. All he needs to do is focus on bringing that car home in one piece. James Jeff there now with the purple first sector, not really able to do much with it. He will hope to get the fastest lap so he can secure an additional point. Although this is going to hurt his attempt here at a fastest lap, potentially even invalidating the lap there. We'll wait to see if it remains valid. He will get DOS on this straight because he was still behind Forza at the DOS detection line, but he has gone off the track at the final turn, so apparently it was a valid lap. Okay, FIA, whatever you say. Fastest lap given to James Jeff there at the 1 minute 24.1. Just going to ride on board here, toxic waste. That left-hand side tyre is still looking good enough. A lot of understeer in turn 5 there. I can't say for sure that he has got a puncture, or will get a puncture, but no one was able to beat this driver. Peter 84 took the lead at the start with a brilliant move down the inside of turn 1 and has looked after his tyres the best out of everyone else. And finds himself coming across the line with a near 11-second lead. He did have a 6-second penalty, but that only cuts the gap down to 8 seconds. Still a very dominant victory from the Haas driver. Oxeter Racing continuing his strong run of form. Finds himself in 2nd place. Now for JVR, championship leader, returns to the podium after his miserable race last time out in Las Vegas, where he retired for, I believe, the first time in this season in Tier 3. And he has climbed back up into 3rd place. Big Red Vigilante in 4th place. As I said, he could secure 4th place, and he did do just that after that spin with names Chef. And Timmy Gunn in 5th place. Wilder Blue securing that 6th position ahead of Toxic Waste due to penalties. And fourth and 8th, names Chef. The Ferrari driver, he was looking extremely strong in qualifying, and in the beginning part of the race finds himself down in 9th position. And your driver of the day is Alfie JVR. So the Red Bull driver having a good climb through the field. Bit of a difficult qualifying, but you can never count him out. So a lot of drivers with a lot of penalties. Everyone finding it very difficult to not anger the FIA and get a 3-second penalty. That is the longest incidents page that I've ever looked at in the race director in this game. So many track limit warnings, so many penalties being handed out. They're definitely not quite as exciting as the previous race in Las Vegas. Las Vegas always delivers chaotic racing. But certainly at Qatar, it showed who was able to really look after the tyres and stay on their strategy, and those who weren't quite able to look after their tyres correctly and had to make an extra pit stop because of tyre wear really cost him a lot of time. Really spread out the field a lot. And ultimately, Peter 84 did the best job in this race. He got the track position early on, he managed to build a gap, and then he also managed to look after his tyres at the same time. Anyway, that has been it from me tonight. I hope you enjoyed the race. I'll be back on Wednesday night, racing in Tier 1 at Qatar as well. Hopefully I can avoid getting 3-second penalties. I know with Fusion I tend to struggle to avoid getting track limit penalties, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.